Her phone buzzed while she was asleep. A sharp notification sound broke the silence of the night. Half awake, she reached for her phone. The screen showed a message from her doorbell camera. Motion detected, 3:12 a.m. She frowned. Nobody ever visited this late. Still lying in bed, she tapped the notification. The live camera feed opened. The porch outside her apartment appeared on the screen, dimly lit by the small security light above the door. At first, she didn't see anything, just the empty hallway outside her apartment. Then, the camera detected movement again. A figure stepped into the frame. Her heart skipped. It was a man wearing a dark hoodie, standing right in front of her door. But the strange part was, he wasn't knocking, he wasn't ringing the doorbell. He was just standing there, looking directly into the camera, completely still. Her phone vibrated again. The system saved a video clip automatically. She opened it. The footage started a few seconds earlier. The hallway was empty at first, then the man slowly walked into the frame, stopped in front of the camera, and leaned closer. So close that his face almost filled the entire screen. Then he whispered something, but the microphone barely picked it up. She replayed the clip, turned the volume all the way up, and listened carefully. The whisper became clearer. 3 words. "I know you're awake." She sat up in bed instantly. The words echoed in her head. "I know you're awake." Her eyes stayed locked on the phone screen. The doorbell camera was still live. The man in the hoodie hadn't moved. He was still standing in front of her apartment door, looking straight into the camera, like he knew exactly where it was. Her chest tightened. Because the camera light was tiny, most people didn't even notice it. But this man clearly did. Her phone vibrated again. Another alert appeared. Motion detected, 3:13 a.m. The live feed refreshed. The man stepped slightly closer. Now the camera angle showed him almost directly under the porch light, but his face was still hard to see. The hood shadowed most of it. He slowly raised his hand. For a moment, she thought he was finally going to knock, but instead, he pointed directly at the camera. Then, slowly dragged his finger across his throat. A chilling gesture. Her heart started racing. She quickly checked the rest of the camera history. Nothing earlier. No footage of him walking down the hallway. No clip of him approaching the door. The first recording only showed him already standing there, like he had appeared out of nowhere. Her phone buzzed again. Another clip was saved automatically. She opened it. This one was only 5 seconds long. The man leaned closer to the camera again. Then he spoke one more sentence. Soft, calm, almost like he was talking directly to her through the screen. "Don't turn off the lights." Her fingers tightened around the phone. "Don't turn off the lights." The words made her stomach twist. How did he know her lights were on? Her eyes slowly lifted from the phone and scanned the apartment. The living room light was still glowing softly down the hallway. She had left it on earlier while watching TV. Anyone standing outside her door shouldn't have been able to see that. The hallway outside the apartment had no windows, no view inside. Yet the man had said it like he knew. Her phone buzzed again. Another motion detected alert. She looked back at the doorbell camera feed. The man was still there, but now he wasn't looking at the camera anymore. He was looking slightly to the side, like he was watching something else in the hallway. Then he stepped backward, out of the porch light, into the darker part of the corridor. For a moment she thought he was leaving, but instead he slowly lifted his hand again and held up his phone toward the camera. The screen was glowing bright. Even through the grainy night footage, she could see it clearly. There was a live video playing on his phone. Her breath caught because the video on his phone looked familiar. It showed a living room, a couch, a lamp, and a TV on the wall. Her living room. Her heart started pounding. The man tilted the phone slightly so the camera could see it better, like he wanted to make sure she noticed. Then he spoke again. Quiet, almost amused. Nice apartment. Her breath caught in her throat. The screen on the man's phone was clear enough now. There was no mistake. It was her living room. The couch, the lamp, even the small blanket folded on the armrest. Everything matched perfectly. Her heart started pounding harder because the doorbell camera was outside. There was no way it could see inside her apartment, which meant the man wasn't showing her the doorbell feed. He was showing a different camera, one that was already inside her home. Her phone buzzed again. Another notification appeared, but this one wasn't from the doorbell camera. It was from her Wi-Fi router app. New device connected. Her stomach tightened. She opened the network list quickly. Several devices appeared. Her phone, her TV, her laptop, and one more she had never seen before. IP camera. Her pulse raced. She slowly lifted her eyes and looked around the living room again, trying to spot something she might have missed. A blinking light, a tiny lens, anything. But nothing looked different. The room looked exactly the same as it always had. Her phone vibrated again. Another alert appeared. Camera stream active. Her hands started shaking. The man outside the door leaned closer to the camera again, holding his phone up so she could see the screen clearly. The live video of her living room moved slightly, like the camera angle had just changed, and then the video slowly panned toward the hallway, toward the bedroom. Her bedroom. The man smiled slightly under the hood. Then he spoke again, quietly. Bedrooms next. Her heart slammed in her chest. Bedrooms next. The words echoed in her mind. Her eyes stayed fixed on the phone screen. The man outside was still holding his phone up to the doorbell camera. The live video of her apartment was still playing on his screen. But something had changed. The camera inside her apartment was moving again, slowly, turning toward the hallway. Her hallway. Her breathing became shallow because she knew something about the cameras in her apartment. She didn't have any, at least none that she had installed. Her phone buzzed again. Another notification appeared from the Wi-Fi app. IP camera, location updated. Her stomach twisted. Location updated? She tapped the device details quickly. A small network map opened, showing where the device signal was strongest inside the apartment. The dot blinked. Right in the living room, near the TV. Her eyes slowly lifted from the phone, toward the TV stand. Nothing looked different, but then she noticed something she had never paid attention to before. A tiny black object attached to the bottom edge of the TV. Small, almost the size of a coin. Her heart skipped. It looked like a simple cable clip, or a sensor. But now that she was staring at it closely, she could see a tiny glass circle in the middle. A lens. A hidden camera. Her chest tightened because she suddenly remembered something. 2 days earlier, the building management had sent a technician to upgrade the internet wiring. He had worked behind the TV for a few minutes, said it was just a quick check, then left. She looked back at the doorbell camera feed. The man in the hoodie was still standing outside, still holding his phone, watching the camera inside her apartment. Then he lowered the phone slightly and spoke again, quietly, almost like he was talking to someone on a call. Yeah, camera's working. Her stomach dropped. Camera's working. The words echoed through the tiny doorbell speaker. Her hands were shaking now. She looked back toward the TV stand. The tiny black device was still there, small enough that she would have never noticed it before. But now she knew exactly what it was: a hidden camera, connected to her Wi-Fi, streaming everything inside her apartment. Her phone buzzed again. Another notification from the router app. IP camera, streaming data. Her heart pounded. She looked back at the doorbell camera feed. The man in the hoodie lowered his phone slightly. Then he leaned closer to the camera again. For the first time, the porch light hit his face clearly, and her stomach twisted even more because she recognized him. He wasn't a stranger. He was the same technician who had come to her apartment 2 days earlier, the one who said he was fixing the building internet, the one who had been standing behind her TV, right where the hidden camera was now. He looked directly into the doorbell camera, then spoke again, calm, almost casual. "Testing it tonight." Then he tapped something on his phone. Her phone buzzed instantly. Another alert appeared. IP camera disconnected. She looked back toward the TV stand. The tiny camera light went dark. Outside the door, the man stepped away from the camera, pulled his hood down again, and quietly walked down the hallway. The doorbell camera followed his movement until he disappeared around the corner. The hallway went silent again. But the scariest part wasn't that someone had watched her apartment. It was that the camera had been there for 2 full days, recording everything, and she had never noticed it.